When we call upon him, he hears us. He likes the condition of a weary soul. If the hunger and the thirst is directed to him, he gladdens himself.
Dear, I will nourish thee, for yet there are 5 years of famine, lest thou and thy household and all that thou hast come to poverty. There's no way you can escape this famine except as authority is allowed to find expression. So authority preserves and authority provides. This is why God needs many of us to become very great. Praise God. And then finally, on the aspect of preservation, Esther chapter 3 verse 5 to 6. Look at this narrative I want to couple together for you here. It says, and when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath. So preservation here is not just from hunger. There are wicked people, enemies of the cross, that wants to frustrate everything God is doing and everybody that calls on the name of the Lord. And you don't know the magnitude of their wickedness. If they deal with an individual, it's not enough for them. They want to wipe out everybody who calls on the name of the Lord. See the way this guy thought. He said, and he thought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai alone. If I deal with this man only, I would have wasted my time. I would have frustrated myself. He said, for they had showed him the people of Mordecai. Wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Jews that were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus, even the people of Mordecai. That's what Christianity is facing in all the nations of the world today. There are people who want to, you know, when people are fighting pastors, you think it's pastors. Listen, there are false prophets, there are false teachers, there are false apostles, there are false pastors, and there should be no room for them. We stand against error, we preach against error, we refute it with all vehemence and all authority. But hear me, when you see a generation that is hostile to men who represent God and to institutions who represent God, it is something bigger than your little sentiment. You see everywhere they are attacking men of God. A generation will rise if God does not do something quick, that we have no regard for anything that is spiritual. And this system, you must belong to one side. When they no longer have regard for anything that is spiritual, then worldliness, iniquity will become the order of the day. Go and look at the Western world today. Some 20 years ago, 15 years ago, they labeled every spiritual person to be evil. Now, there were some who were in error, but not all of them. But a point came where God means nothing to people. You'll see people today, most of you don't connect more to the Western world, so you don't know what is happening. There are people who curse God on a daily basis. They wear shirts where God is being cursed, and they practice perversion as a normal way of life, because God means nothing to them. That's what the devil is doing, to uproot the belief system, to uproot the fear of God, to uproot a generation that loves God. And then there are times when Satan can become physical about it. This is where we need authority, not just spiritual authority. Don't get me wrong. First of all, spiritual authority, then governmental authority, then financial authority, then media authority, influence among people. Anything that empowers people, there must be somebody among our ranks that have it, so that when we need to deal at the spiritual front, there is a people that can stand. When we need to deal at the economic front, there will be people that can stand. When we need to deal at governmental front, there should be people that stand. And when we need to deal on media front, any aspect from academics, there should be people among us that have those levels of authority, so that by all means, men can say, no, God must stand. Hope you know that when Haman rose up against the church, it wasn't the priest that rose. Mordecai didn't have the kind of authority needed in this battle. So Mordecai quickly ran to the one who had it, and he sent to Esther. He said, this is what they have planned to do. Esther chapter 4, you read it from verse 1 to 16. They plan to annihilate us. And Esther said, oh, what can we do? I can't go to the king now. Mordecai said, shut up. What do you mean you can't go to the king? You think you were there to be queen? You were sent there for such a time as this. If you have to die, die. That's why you are there. The lady woke up. That was when she realized why she went there. You think you went there for perfume and gold? Who told you you went there for looks? You went there as a witness. You went there as a custodian of power. This is why you were sent there. And the lady said, take 3 days. Verse 16. Esther 4:16. Fast for me. I will go before the king. It's against the law to do it. If I perish, I perish. But those who go out never perish. They always come back with victory. And so Esther went and confronted the king. You know the rest of the story? Eventually, she found favor with the king. Okay, let's read it. Look at the progression. Esther 3, verse 5 to 6. We read that already. Haman said, if I kill Mordecai alone, I will scorn myself. I will wipe out the whole tribe of Mordecai. Now go to Esther 3, verse 8 to 10. See the way the game of power is done. See how authority functions. And Haman said unto King Ahasuerus, he said, there is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom. Are you seeing the way he was angry with Mordecai? But see the message he took to the king. He said, and their laws are diverse from all the people, neither keep they the king's law. So the guy made them the enemy of the king. Therefore, it is not for the king's profit to suffer them. That means to allow them to continue existing. If you don't have somebody who can negotiate here too, you may be praying and die. That's why in order for your prayer not to fail, God must raise men of authority. Because the answer to this problem, they don't come from heaven. They come from those who have authority among us. Next verse. If it please the king, let it be written. Do you know why he said it should be written? The law of the Medes and the Persians, it uttereth not. If the king say it, he can change his mind. But if he writes it, even the king can't change it. And you will notice that in this battle, when the king wanted to change his mind, they had to write a counter law. Because you can't bend the law. The king told the Israelites, take arms and defend yourself. This is government we are talking about here. He said, let it be written that they may be destroyed. He said, and I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to those that have the charge of this business to bring it into the king's treasury. I will make the king rich by doing this. This is how wicked these people can be. They can destroy you and they will do everything to make sure you are destroyed. Now go to Esther chapter 3, verse 12 and 13. The king, as if he was under a spell, also went ahead and wrote a law for everybody. Because when you are a king, you are thinking wine and party and enjoyment. It's your counselors that actually rule the land. See what the foolish king did. Then were the king's scribe called on the 13th day of the first month, and there was written according to all that Haman has what? Commanded unto the king's lieutenant and to the governors that were over every province, and to every ruler of the people in every province according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language. In the name of King Ahasuerus was he written and sealed with the king's ring. Nothing can bend it. This was what Esther changed. When Esther came to the king, Esther was careful to apply wisdom to make sure the king made a promise 3 times. Whatever you want, I will give you, even if it is up to half of my kingdom. Even if it is up to half of my kingdom. Even if it... This is... Mordecai couldn't go there. It doesn't have a place there. It was Esther that had a place. So there are those who have spiritual power. There are those who have governmental power. There are those who have economic power. See, there are things that no matter how spiritually powerful you are, you can't do. And it's not prayer that will make it happen. It's your physical connection to the person who has governmental power. That's why all of the ranks must be among us. It's called authority. The people of God cannot be preserved without authority. You study Esther 5 and Esther 6, you'll see how the whole manipulation took place. And Mordecai was eventually exalted as well to authority, because next time we need 2 people in power. 1 is not enough. So Mordecai too had to be promoted, so that if a quorum is required, they will be complete. Because it's where 2 or 3 are gathered that things happen. So authority is important because God is glorified when we exercise authority in righteousness. Number 2, kingdom is advanced when we exercise authority. Number 3, people are provided for when there is authority. And number 4, the people of God are preserved when there is authority. But you see, there is a protocol for exercising and wielding authority. Authority is not wielded casually. For you to wield authority, there is a protocol. There are virtues you must have. That's why the Bible said the heir, Galatians 4:1, so long as he's a child, he's not different from a servant. He is born a prince. He is the heir. But if he's a child, he can't wield authority. So authority is for the mature. If you are not mature, you can't wield authority. And one of the ways God judges maturity is by your growth in the exercise of virtue. If you can't exercise virtue, no matter what you say, as far as God is concerned, you are not yet mature. Because he needs to see the character of Christ on your inside. He needs to see the personality of Christ expressed through you. These are the things that bring men to maturity. There are many more things, all right? But because we are dealing with authority